Something absolutely massive could be right around the corner for Colorado football, and it will absolutely shake up the college football world. This entire offseason, the talk around conference realignment has mainly focused on the Pac-12 and the Big 12, specifically the four corner schools: Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado. The rumor mill has been churning, and fan bases from both conferences have been duking it out on the internet and on message boards, Twitters, and the comment sections of YouTube. So make sure that you guys do that a ton today. But if the latest rumor turns out to be accurate, Colorado might just be the next domino to fall. According to Justin Hopkins of On3's Oregon site, Scoop Duck, one of his sources has indicated that Colorado might announce a move to the Big 12. Now, Justin dropped this nugget yesterday afternoon, and he gave a 48-hour window from when he posted it on Monday. Now, that's about mid-afternoon on Tuesday, May 9th, and nothing has been announced by Colorado yet, and we have about 24 hours to go before we can maybe dismiss this rumor, or maybe keep our eyes peeled because maybe just the timeline is off just a bit. Justin goes on to say that he hasn't heard of any other schools planning on announcing, but one might assume that Colorado is not making this move alone. Justin also notes that he is reporting from an independent source that has never claimed to be an insider. Finally, later in the message board, Justin followed up by saying, for what it's worth, this information was not from someone related to Oregon. It was a couple of sources connected to Colorado and some Big 12 schools. Now, we have a lot to unpack here. That's just kind of an intro to get us started. But let's start with what this might mean for Colorado. Colorado was previously a member of the Big 12, so we already know they're a great cultural fit with the rest of the Big 12's member institutions. With the uncertainty surrounding the media rights deal that the Pac-12 is currently negotiating, Colorado's values might not necessarily align with those of the remaining Pac-12 programs. While everything ultimately boils down to money, the Pac-12 does have an investment in higher education that has been binding its member institutions together so far throughout these TV negotiations. Colorado certainly has great academics, don't get me wrong, and they certainly do value the research relationships they share with the other members of the Pac-12. With that being said, Colorado has invested a tremendous amount of resources into modernizing and competing across their athletics program, specifically in football. Let's be honest with ourselves here. You don't go out and hire Deion Sanders to be your next coach and then purge 2/3 of your entire roster with the intention of not trying to do something special on the gridiron. With no deal on the table and Disney laying off over 7,000 employees in media negotiations for the NBA, WWE, and the college football playoff and other sports coming up, not even accounting for the writers' strike or the U.S. economy, the Pac-12 could not have been renegotiating their own media rights at a worse possible time. With only a year left on the contract, Colorado and other programs in the Pac-12 need to think strategically about their athletics department and the situation that they place their coaches and student athletes in. I want to talk more about this and dive into that just a bit further, but before I do, I want to show some love to our friends over at Gramco. TheGramco.com is your one-stop shop for all Delta 8 products. Whether you're looking for gummies, pre-rolls, vapes, they've got a wake and bake coffee that's phenomenal. They've got a odorless, flavorless, water-soluble mix that you can mix into your favorite drinks and your favorite food recipes. The blue raspberry gummies are my absolute favorite. If you're not familiar with Delta 8, go give them a try, thegramco.com. They even have sample packs that you can get if you don't want to dive all the way in. I've got a special deal for you right now. If you use the code PRIMETIME, all one word, all caps, you get 20% off at thegramco.com. Appreciate them for their support and supporting us here at the Prime Time for college football. Okay, programs in the Pac-12, for example, might be at a recruiting disadvantage compared to their peers because they can't say with any confidence which conference the recruit will actually compete in. let alone where their families and friends will be able to see them on TV or in person. With speculation whirling that the Pac-12 media distribution might not even have its Tier 1 products on traditional networks like ESPN or Fox Sports and potentially get relegated to majority streaming, there's also visibility concerns regarding the Pac-12 programs versus their peers in other conferences that do have product offerings on ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC, CBS, and others. Colorado can assure its future revenue in athletics, provide stability and investment in their product, and renew historical rivalries. They can also guarantee visibility all in one move, and that's by jumping to the Big 12. Now, I can't predict the future, but I will say that all signs seem to indicate that Colorado will make a return to the Big 12. With a return to the Big 12, you can expect Coach Prime to be a central personality to media offerings that Brett Yormark would love to capitalize on in his efforts to expand the Big 12 brand's visibility and accessibility. Colorado fans can look forward to old rivalries being renewed, as well as preferable time slots on game days. I promise you that we don't want to be covering games here that take place at 11 p.m. There might be an uptick in recruiting for Colorado as a result of making this move as well, with Coach Prime and his staff being more confident in communicating to kids and their families in what conference the Buffs will be playing, and it might even expand interest in Colorado as a realistic destination for kids whose families might want to be able to attend games within the Big 12's footprint. Let's go big picture now. What happens to the other Pac-12 programs if Colorado makes this move? Well, I would expect, like Justin Hopkins suggested, that Colorado would not do this on their own. I'd look for a program like Utah or Arizona to maybe make the move with Colorado. I can't rule out San Diego State making this move either, given they've also been courted by the Pac-12, and bringing a Pacific time slot with them could be very valuable in that Big 12 market. In any case, Colorado making a move would devalue the Pac-12 product and undercut their negotiating leverage. I would expect additional dominoes will fall in a reactionary move that Colorado makes with other members of the Pac-12. Perhaps maybe they feel more confident in themselves making a move if one of their peers pulls the trigger first. The more programs that leave the Pac-12, the less likely they'll find themselves able to renegotiate a media rights deal worth any real value to its current members. Let's suppose that Colorado does leave, along with a program like Arizona or Utah. Don't be surprised to see all four corner schools that we mentioned earlier make a move to the Big 12. If it's Colorado and San Diego State to the Big 12, the Pac-12 might stick around and might stick together, but they'd need to backfill to account for three programs having left. It's tough to gauge which group of five programs would actually bring enough value to the Pac-12 to incentivize its current members, Colorado excluded, from signing a grant of rights for a renegotiated and devalued media rights deal. The outlook is bleak for the Pac-12, and frankly, I don't see a scenario where it remains a Power 5 conference for much longer. With power consolidating with the Big 10 and the SEC and the ACC power programs working some angles to potentially bust their own conference open, it's only a matter of time before the remaining powers in the Pac-12, Oregon, and Washington make a move themselves. Whether they opt to go independent or apply for membership, perhaps at a reduced revenue share for Big 10, remains a mystery. Still, there's no doubt in my mind that if Colorado goes, another program joins them in the Big 12. The Pac-12 is only buying itself time if it can manage to renegotiate a media rights deal, because there's no way I can imagine a program signing a grant of rights for an extended period of time as things currently stand. You know that if the Big 10 offers Oregon and Washington membership, they would jump immediately. There's even a chance you could see teams like Stanford and Cal join the Big 10 ranks, perhaps thanks to their relationships with USC and UCLA, or off of purely an academic merit. Any way you slice this, if this rumor proves true, it spells doom for the Pac-12. I believe the best case for the Pac-12 is that only Colorado makes the jump if this rumor happens to be true. Maybe they can backfill with a group of 5 program or programs after a media rights deal is renegotiated and a grant of rights is signed off on. Even then, after a few years pass, when conference realignment comes calling again, you can expect more departures from their power programs, the ones that remain anyway. The worst case for the Pac-12 is that all 4 corner schools leave the Big 12, with Colorado leading the charge. You can essentially guarantee that the Pac-12 would either dissolve or be relegated to Group of 5 status at that point. In that scenario, the remaining programs will either opt to go independent or bid themselves to the remaining Power 5 conferences in the hopes of staying relevant. I can see Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal being admitted to the Big 10, probably at a reduced revenue share, which would eventually bump them up to a full revenue member in time. That, or these 4 programs may go the independent route, as I believe they would potentially be capable of generating more revenue independently than joining the Big 12. That, or programs like Cal, would simply lose interest in the arms race that is college athletics. I imagine Oregon State and Washington State would be forced to join a Group of 5 conference, likely settling for the Mountain West. All in all, Colorado could send major shockwaves through the college football world. And of course, it's Coach Prime at the center of it. We will absolutely do our very best to keep you updated on this subject and everything going on with Colorado as best as we can. If you watched this and you enjoyed the content, do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. We're really getting close to 4,000 subs, and we would love if you could help us get there. Our goal is 10,000 by the time the season starts. I know that's lofty, but we're going to try and do our very best to continue bring you guys relevant content and make sure that we are doing our very best for you. What are your thoughts? Which direction do you think that this ends up going? Which way do you think it all shakes out? Does Colorado end up leaving and going back to the Big 12? Let us know down below. If you missed our conversation with Kuz from Kuz's Corner on this subject and its implications, you can do me a favor and click right here to watch. Thank you guys, as always, for watching the prime time for college football.